So, first of all, I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support recently. My giveaway video had over 1,600 views in like 48 hours, which is crazy. And if you enjoy this video, then let me know, because my plan is to make one of these every week and replace one day of vlogging to give myself a day off to just relax and chill out. But anyway, moving on to exactly what everyone came here for. How do I make £5,000 per month in property at 20 years old? Well, there's two main methods that bring me income every month, and these represent the two different businesses that I run. I'm gonna dive a lot deeper into the numbers and the process behind the businesses, but before I do, I just want to say a massive thank you to Samuel Leeds and his team and James Armstrong, because without those guys, I'd still be working night shifts in a petrol station. But anyway, my first business, and the best way to explain this is a sort of brokerage. I believe in the US this is called property wholesaling, but it's not in the traditional form where people just list their properties with me for whatever price they want, and then people go on Rightmove and find them and buy them from me. Instead, I act as like a middleman between a seller and an investor. I don't deal with residential sales or lettings. I deal purely with investment and investment clients. And to give you a bit of an idea of the process, it sort of looks like this. Step one is finding clients. The first part of the process then is obviously networking to find these clients. You're gonna network with people who have money and who want to invest. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do this. It's had to change quite a lot, obviously, because of the pandemic, but 9 out of 10 networking events and things now have online versions on Zoom and other platforms that you can attend, and most of them are relatively inexpensive. Not only that, but I cannot stress enough how important social media is. You can find, everyone has social media, everyone has Facebook. You can find so many people on social media who are willing to invest, who want to invest, and you can be the bridge that meets their investment. So my main advice for step one would be to join as many Facebook groups, networking groups, WhatsApp groups, all of that you possibly can, and try and connect with either like-minded individuals or investors who are actively looking to invest as we speak. So then moving on to the next stage is basically assessing their criteria. So, I mean, we try and speak to every single one of our investors, but we've now got over 700 clients on our list, so it becomes quite hard to speak to everyone individually. But in order to briefly assess their requirements, we have a tick list on our mailing list sign up, and I'll link that in the description so you can take a look yourself. But essentially it just filters out what they do and don't want in a very broad sense, and then we'll follow that up with a phone call to assess exactly what they want. But yeah, if you just want to check that out in the description, it'll give you a better idea of what we ask our clients. The questions when we call each one of them individually are a bit more in depth, and if people are interested, I can do a video on that later, but for now we're just going to touch the surface of what I do. So step number 3 is the deal. So this is the main area that we differ from your standard brokers or estate agents. So once we've assessed an investor or a client's criteria, the next step is then obviously to find them an appropriate investment for their needs. Now, there's a few different ways that you can find investments, and all of them are valid, all of them are good, but our main ways of finding investment deals are through our relationships with agents and Rightmove. Now, there is a lot of skepticism around people who run businesses like myself and finding deals on Rightmove, and there is a valid reason for that, and I do agree with it to an extent. The reason for it is because there's some very inexperienced and naive people who are trying to run a business like this, and essentially all they do is they try and sell a deal to an investor and they just send them a Rightmove link. Now, there's a couple of issues with that, but the main one being is, why would an investor pay you money to find them an investment if they can go and find it on Rightmove? So when people are saying that you shouldn't be finding deals on Rightmove, I don't completely agree with it, but I see where they're coming from, because they've had so many so-called sources or brokers send them deals which are just links off of Rightmove so they can make a quick buck. In my opinion, the reason that I still find deals on Rightmove is because if you're searching for a property to sell, where's the first place you're going to go? It's going to be Rightmove, obviously. So for me, the fee that I charge to my clients for finding them an investment is not based off of whether or not I can scroll through Rightmove for 4 hours a day. It's based on the value of the service that I provide on top of that, and I'll clarify a bit that now. So that leads me quite nicely to step 4, which is stacking the deal. Now, this term stacking is just an industry term that gets used quite a lot. It essentially just means that you're compiling information, negotiation history, quotations, plans, just all of the information you've got and the research you've done on that property. So once you've found a property that you think is going to be a good deal, you need to gather all that information and make sure you have it readily available to send to your investors at a moment's notice. You're basically going to need the following information in order to justify charging a fee for that deal. So the first thing is negotiation for the best price and getting records of this. So if you can, you want to get back and forth emails between you and the agent or the vendor where you're negotiating the price down, or you're negotiating a better deal, better arrangement with them. If you have this, it proves that obviously you provided value and you spent your time trying to get the client the best deal they can possibly have. You'll then need a list of works that need doing on the property and quotations for how much it's going to cost. So you can get these from a builder. Most builders will give an impartial quote. You then need 2 lists of comparables. What I mean by comparables are properties that are sold and selling in the area and properties that are rented and renting in the area. So the first list basically shows that your client is not paying over the odds. They're paying what the property is valued at. And the second list then just ensures that your client is confident that they can achieve that certain rental amount every single month, because there are other properties in the area that are renting for the same amount. And the last main thing you're going to need is your calculations. This will include your return on investment calculations and sometimes yield. This is a fairly basic calculation. There's a lot of videos that will go over how to work this out, and I'm sure just a quick YouTube search will bring one up for you. It's a very simple calculation. You can make it into a spreadsheet, but it's just one of those things that you really need to make sure that you're presenting an actual deal to your investor. And then the final step obviously is selling the deal. So this is where the money is actually made. Once you've got all this information I was just talking about, you need to put it together into what's called a pack, commonly in the industry. Essentially, it's just a folder with a lot of information in it that I just listed out before, along with a brochure for the property. Now, I personally use Canva to create my brochures because they have something on the paid version which is called a brand kit. Now, there is a free version and it's still really good, and I do recommend you use it. But with the paid version, this brand kit allows you to essentially remain consistent across all of the documents that you produce. It saves logos, color schemes, fonts, all of that. Go check it out. I'll link it in the description. You can go and have a play around with it. It's really easy to use. So once you've created this brochure, you've put this pack together and you've got all the information that you need, you essentially just send the email out to your investors. Now, if you only have a couple of investors on your list, you're probably going to want to call them one by one because it's a lot more of a personal touch on it, and it will help you to get a lot more referrals in the future if they are dealing with you on a one-to-one basis. So you send the deal out and then you wait for people to reply, essentially saying, yes, I'm interested, can you give me more information? Now, when they want more information, there's a couple of bits you can do. You can give them outline numbers, or you can get them to sign a non-disclosure agreement, and you can send them the pack we were just talking about. Now, there is a downside to sending them a non-disclosure agreement. Yes, they could steal the deal. Yes, it is legally binding, but at the same time, I found that there's a lot more success in selling if you're confident in your deal and you're able to just sell them over the phone. Because a lot of investors who sign NDAs, they'll look at the deal and they won't actually go through with buying it, purely because they'll say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, or I'll get back to you tomorrow, or I've got this to do, or I'm just waiting on this. If you can, sell the deal. If you can and you've got enough demand for it, sell the deal over the phone immediately and then send the disclosure documents. So you'll get people who text back saying they're interested, so then you need to call them up one by one, you sell them the deal, and what happens then is you need to send them your terms and conditions and an invoice for the full finder's fee, including VAT if you charge VAT. And then once you've received those terms and conditions back and you have received payment of the full finder's fee, then you essentially connect the seller and the investor together, and that's basically it. Now, there are a lot of other things that need to be considered when running a business like this. It's not just a case of going on Rightmove and finding a deal and earning a quick buck, as I was saying earlier. This is why there's so many people who are trying to do this and they're not doing it properly. There are a lot of legal compliance aspects as well, and you do need to make sure that you are abiding by those, but I don't want to make this that kind of video, so I'll just list them in the description, and you can take a look yourself. They're really easy to apply for, and feel free to drop me a message if you need any help. So getting down to what everyone really wants to know, how much does this actually pay me every month? So to give you a bit of an idea, each deal will sell for roughly between £2,000 and £10,000. And on average, we sell between 4 and 6 deals a month. So, I mean, you can do the maths. Generally, on an average month, we're looking at between £10,000 and £20,000 in turnover. But it is worth noting that we also do source specialist deals. So big developments, conversions, office blocks, things like that. So they can demand a higher sourcing fee, but they only come around every so often. It's not an everyday thing, and there's no guarantee that these are actually going to come around, but when they do, it obviously boosts the revenue for that month quite substantially. Now, don't get me wrong, when I first started out, I was having to refund a lot of people a lot of the deals that I sold because there was things that I was missing, and I wasn't providing enough value and enough information for the investor to justify them paying that fee. So ultimately, it leads to unhappy investors. But now I can confidently say that I'm paying myself upwards of £2,500 a month from this business. Now, I mean, you're probably thinking, you know, if I'm turning over £10,000 to £20,000 a month, then why am I only paying myself 2.5? And it's quite a simple answer, to be honest. I'm 20 years old, I don't need any more than £2,500 a month. In fact, I don't even need £2,500 a month. And it's because I want to save as much money as I can, because the best way to grow your net worth quickly is to live beneath your means and save as much money as you possibly can, and then reinvest that money. Now, of course, I could still draw more, but then I've got to pay taxes on it and things like that. So anything that I make above my costs and what I pay myself essentially just gets reinvested either into this business, into the other business which I'm about to talk about, or into my personal investment portfolio. Now this brings me quite nicely onto what my second business is. In a nutshell, basically we operate 2 properties as short-term stays, short-term accommodation. Now before you think it's just the same old Airbnb strategies, just hold on a minute, because our properties aren't your standard 2-bedroom apartments. Our business targets a very specific niche of luxury 5-bed accommodation in very affluent areas. Now I actually visit one of these properties in this vlog here, so if you just click this tag here, it'll take you to that video and you can have a watch of that and you see a bit of the inside of how it works. I'm also going to link the business Instagram account and the Airbnb listings for both properties in the description, so you can go and have a look at those. Our Instagram's actually doing phenomenally well right now. We actually just had some celebrity guests from The Only Way is Essex, which is a British TV show, stay in our property for a few days, and they absolutely loved it. So make sure you go and check those out in the description. So we essentially rent these properties from the landlord at a discounted rate because we're taking them for such a long time. We'll take them for anywhere between 3 and 5 years, possibly longer. We then get express permission from the landlord to let that property out on a nightly basis. And it's very, very important that you do it on the right contract if you're gonna do it, because otherwise it's very, very illegal. There's also a couple of other things you have to ensure that you know before you do it, and if people want, I can go over those in a separate video. Very, very happy to do so. Now, yes, we do let the properties out on Airbnb, and there's nothing wrong with that. Airbnb is a fantastic platform, and so is Booking.com. They're some of the biggest travel sites in the world. I think Booking.com spends something ridiculous like 32 million a day on advertising, so you're not really going to beat that as a one-man band, are you? The main thing that we try and focus on though with these properties, especially given the current pandemic that's going on and the lockdowns and things that are happening, is longer term bookings. So what I mean by that is anywhere from a month up to 12 months. We actually have got people in the properties right now who are staying for a month or more. Both of them are fully occupied, and I don't think there's any availability until the beginning of November, but feel free to go and have a look and maybe book something. Now, to give you an idea of the rough numbers here, we were quite fortunate during lockdown, and we had someone in there from mid-December until I think mid-May. So it's like 4.5 months, I think, something like that. And we were lucky enough to have them paying £7,000 a month for this accommodation. Now, if you bear in mind that our costs for that property are about £4,000 a month, and if you do 7,000 minus 4,000, that gives you 3,000. Now, obviously, we have to keep a bit of that back for contingencies. You know, certain things go wrong, there's maintenance and bits to take care of. But on average, we're looking at about £2,000 profit per month per property. So we've got 2 properties, you can do the maths, that's £4,000 profit per month. Now in this business, it's structured a bit differently. I have a couple of business partners, so that £4,000 a month is not all mine to take. And in fact, I actually don't draw anything from this business at the minute. We're keeping it all in the business and reinvesting it. We actually just opened up a new property. Now, of course, I could draw money from this business as well, but as I said before, I'm trying to live beneath my means and save as much as I can to reinvest and grow my portfolio. So overall, on a good month, I could draw between £5,000 and £10,000 into my personal account. But obviously, as I said, I'd have to pay tax on that. So right now, I'm reinvesting about 75% of everything I make, and I'm only drawing £2,500. Having said that, there's a lot of benefits to having businesses, and the fact that you can buy certain things through those businesses and write them off against tax. Now, if you guys do want to see it, I am more than happy to break down exactly how I spend my money, what I invest it in, and what a general month of income and investment looks like for me. But that, of course, will be in a separate video. I don't even know how long this video is going to be. It's probably going to take me absolutely ages to edit, so I think this is going to be the end of the video now. But if you enjoyed this video and you found some value, then please hit like and subscribe. It would really, really help me out. I'm also running a giveaway at the moment, which will be linked in the description as well, so go into that. You could win up to £100 in Amazon vouchers, and you might see me jump out of an aeroplane. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.